Okay, everyone. This video is about safety and rip currents. I recently had a close friend who died. Still adjusting to that loss. It's really quite ironic. He drowned in a rip current, and we just had a discussion about this 2 months ago. I brought it up because I was curious and had looked up what to do if you get caught in a rip current. I'm one of those types. I'm very curious. I've also looked up what to do if I see a bear. You know, you don't want to mess it up at the end there, like, oh, do I look big or small, play dead or run like a scared rabbit? Oh, Google it. When death knocks, you're not going to have time to research anything. Now, in rip currents, the number one reason people die are from panicking. And I can see how this happens, because what it does, it's going to take the person out very quickly. And the shore is going to be smaller and smaller really fast. They could be traveling like 10 feet a second as it pulls them out to sea. And that scares the living hell out of anyone, even the strongest, best swimmer. Okay, it's the panicking that tends to drown people. Now, okay, let's talk about what a rip current is. Sometimes people call it a rip tide. That's because it does have a tide-like effect of going outward, but it's a rip current. It also does not pull you under, but it will move you along swiftly. Now, there's a couple of ways to get out of it, okay? First off, be calm. You are not going to be taken way out to sea, although it will seem that way. It is going to release you once it gets past the breakers, okay? And then you can go on around and swim back in. But do not try to swim directly back to shore, straight in. It's not going to happen. Water is the strongest moving force on the face of the earth. 1 gallon of water weighs over 8.3 pounds. So imagine millions of gallons of water moving you. You're not going to be able to fight that. Give it up. Look at the Grand Canyon. There are rounded boulders the size of houses at the bottom of the canyon. And along the sides of the canyon are curved grooves cut into the side. This is from those boulders being tumbled and pushed along by water. And if a boulder the size of the house cannot resist the moving force of water, do not kid yourself that you will be able to. You won't. Mother Nature will win every time. Now, my friend, he was strong, he was very fit, he was healthy, he could swim. This leads me to believe he either panicked and he forgot everything we talked about, or he could have inhaled water or something like that. And that's a deadly mistake. It's easy to happen with water splashing in your face unexpectedly. You know, those are the kind of things that cause people to drown, and not necessarily just wearing out, you know, because I've been out snorkeling for an hour at a time, way out past the breakers, and I didn't feel exhausted at all. The body naturally wants to be buoyant in salt water, and the more saline the water is, the higher the salt content, the more buoyant you will be. It's actually hard not to float. In fact, one of the easiest ways with the least energy you can float is on your back. You can totally be at a resting state. Just barely moving your legs. You really don't have to do much, and it's easier to stay afloat horizontally than vertically, where you want to sink like a torpedo. But if you are vertical and you're treading water, do not keep your feet like this. You need to keep your feet like downward, and you'll have a much better result with staying afloat with the least effort. Now, let's talk about rip currents and what they are and how they form, because there's actually two ways I know of you can break out of a rip current. Also, we're going to talk about how you can spot one. You can actually see it with your eye, plain as day. And so I'll tell you what to look for. Rip currents. Okay, the waves are coming in to the beach, okay? And what happens is sometimes they have this effect. And when they collide, they come on back outward, going out to sea. And they create a stream. And in essence, that is the rip current. Okay, and how the misnomer has been called a riptide. So you will actually be able to see it with your eye. You will see the waves coming in on each side, but in this stream-like effect that's going out to sea, it will look flat, like there won't be any waves. It'll look calm, actually, but it's actually very active. The water is moving swiftly, and you may see foam floating on top because of all the micro bubbles that get churned up when they create that foam, and you'll see that foam moving outward. So that's how you can see it with your eye. The foam may not be present though, but you will see that almost calm, flat, stream-like effect versus the waves on each side that are coming in and crashing in. Now, when the rip current is meeting up and then it's going out to sea, it will release you once it gets past the breakers, okay? And it's hard to say how close that's going to be to shore. That can vary. It might not exactly be a stone throw away. Then again, it might not be that far. But one way you can break out of this without having to wait until you get past the breakers is to turn sideways and swim alongside, parallel with the beach. And in a short time, you will be out of the rip current and freely be able to swim back in. Okay, so the important things for you to remember are this. Do not panic. You will think you're going to be swept off to sea, but you're not. Okay? And do not swim directly back toward the beach. Your efforts will be in vain. You're going to exhaust yourself, and the harder you swim and you see you're not getting anywhere and you're still being taken out to sea, you're going to freak out. You're either going to freak out and die from a heart attack, or you're going to panic, or you're going to exhaust yourself, you're going to inhale water. It's not going to go well. But if you want to just ride it out, you can float on your back. You really will be fine. Unless, of course, you don't know how to swim and you can't afford to get out into deep water. And if you don't know how to swim, well, you need to learn, okay? Especially if you're going in the ocean or any body of water. That's just plain and simple. I don't know what happened to my friend in his last moments. I don't know what he was thinking. He was a very calm, collected, cool person. But anyone can panic when they feel out of control. I don't care who you are or how zen you think you are. Okay, and this was a strong, fit person who had strong swimming skills and was an avid boater from back in the day, you know. So I'm just led to believe that he panicked or something like that. we'll never really know. I'm adjusting to all of this. I don't want it to cause me to not enjoy the ocean, though. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the ocean. I have a healthy dose of fear. I myself panicked one time while out there, and it's one of the only times in my life I hyperventilated, and I knew if I didn't calm the fuck down, I was going to die. And what happened is, I was swimming out to go snorkeling, and when I got past the breakers, I put my mask into the water, and it was so murky I couldn't see anything. And there was something in that just triggered panic within me that I haven't really seen before. And my heart started beating so fast. I was breathing really heavy and irregularly. And I just thought my heart was going to explode out of my chest. I was out there with another person. He could see the fear on my face, and I just said, I have to go back. I turned and I left. I will never forget that, and that sensation of losing it. But there was something in not being able to see in the water. Like, you know, I'm a target, and there's all these things under there, and I'm the silhouette on the surface against the contrast of the light, you know. Yeah. I've been able to work through that type of fear by facing it, you know, and challenging myself. And since then, I have been able to enjoy being in the ocean, you know, and find a great deal of peace and serenity while in there. In fact, once I'm swimming around, looking at everything through my snorkel, I feel more peaceful than getting out to the spot. Again, something about the waves and not seeing. And regarding the rip current, I'm sure it would be terrifying to get pulled into one and then swept away so swiftly, you know, but I would probably be more fearful of being shark bait than drowning. I have more fear of that, and I know people that live along the beach in some skyrise condos, and they see sharks all the time out there that the swimmers are totally unaware of. The sharks are there. There's times of years where they're migrating, they're mating, and they're especially active, so they're out there. On an ending note about the rip currents, I do want to say my friend's obituary did not state how he died, and we could not find anywhere online where it indicated that someone drowned in a rip current on that particular day, and we realized that it's not so great for tourism, okay? But do be aware this sort of thing happens. It's more common than people think, and do realize the people that die tend to be the people who do panic or who obviously don't know how to swim. So you can get educated, and it's very important to know your options and remember them. And that's just it with my friend. I mean, we just talked about this. It just seems like days ago, and we had a very thorough discussion of it, you know, and what to do. I just hate this. I don't want his death to be in vain, though. I think it is important to talk about it, and I was resentful that they didn't notify in the paper that someone had drowned from a rip current, you know, to give people a heads up. But, you know, this is how it is, and I hate to say it, but sometimes things just really boil down to money. Tourism attract the people down to our South Florida beaches, you know. You can ignore the sharks and all of that. You'll be fine. I'm sorry, but humor can be the antidote to suffering sometimes, and my life's like one big black comedy anyway. Okay, so rip currents. Remember, if you're pulled into one, turn sideways, swim parallel at the beach. Okay? Act fast. And hopefully that'll put an end to your terror. So those are the tricks with breaking free of the grip of the rip current. You can turn sideways and swim out, or let it carry you out past the breakers, then just come on and swim back in. One thing to be aware of, too, just to point out real fast, that rip currents can actually occur side by side. There can be several of them lined up with safe zones in between them. So there may not just be one. And remember, before you go out, look for the waves coming in I told you about, and look for any flat river-like areas running between those waves. And it'll be flat and smooth. You won't see waves coming in that zone at all. And you may see the churning of the bubbles in the foam floating on top as well as a further indicator. Some beaches also do notify when there are rip currents available, but I wouldn't rely on that. It's important to pay attention with your eyes, and rip currents can spontaneously occur, so it might not be written down on a little board, okay? Alright, have a safe swim. Share this information with your friends and family. Education is priceless, and be calm, don't panic.